Come on in. Class is about to start.
And what are we doing today?
Today we have lesson 313 in the workbook of A Course in Miracles. Now let a new perception come to me. And before we get into the conversation about it, I want to share with our participants one of my favorite pictures that I keep up on the wall that is a description of this. So you probably have seen this in some version or another.
Got to go up a little higher.
A little more. Well, okay, and so I've got some words on it. You're probably seeing it backward. It says, pop into the world of light. The barriers are not real. So this actually, I found out, it's called Flammarion, and it's after this mystic whose name was Flammaria, and he was also an astronomer. So this is like his picture. He'd look out into the sky and he'd get a new perception. He'd have a higher awareness of something.
Yeah.
So this is what the Course is asking us to do. I look at it as like pop into the real world. The barriers aren't real. The barriers are our belief that something's wrong and we better stay here and fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Better stay in my head and fix it. Judge, decide what somebody should do that's different from what they're doing, whether it's me or someone else. So today's lesson's a good one. Starts out with a long prayer.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about the prayer first, babe, or you want me to? What would you like? How do you want to handle this?
Well, let's talk a little bit about light.
Light, okay.
In the mind.
Yeah.
So in the set of lessons that said miracles are seen in the light, miracles are seen in the light, and the light is strength is one. What it says, why you can't see the miracles and the forgiveness that's in the mind, which is the only thing that's in your mind.
Yeah.
Guilt has been removed, fear has been revealed, any thought of separation from love has been removed, but we're not able to see that because we keep the mind dark by trying to make two things be real that can't go together. So from the ego standpoint, it makes fear and love both be real. It makes innocence and guilt like both be real.
Yeah.
And those one or the other of those things has to be true. They can't both be true.
Imagine if guilt was the only thing that was real. We would be in hell.
Yeah. Well, and when we're attracted to guilt, which is what often happens, then our mind is dark.
Yeah.
So that's why the Course's answer is not to go from wrong-mindedness to one-mindedness. It's from wrong-mindedness to right-mindedness.
Right.
So instead of trying to get your innocence by making the world guilty, you just accept you're innocent as is everybody else.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to make fear and love both be real, you see fear as not a defense against love, but a call for love.
Right.
So the light in the mind is dropping one side of those opposites. So I fall down on innocence. There is no guilt. I fall down on love or calls for love. And that's the light he's talking about. Because that's accessible to us right now.
So he says.
Because of the peace that we can experience when we quit trying to get our innocence by making something else guilty. That's the darkness in the mind.
So it's like a whole world of shadows. There's a little dappled light, but there's a lot of shadows, and we're always trying to read the shadows like as if they're tea leaves.
Yeah.
What are these shadows telling me about what I should think, what I should do, where should I go? It's just backward.
It is backward.
It's like if we turn, so let's use the sun to use another astronomical metaphor. We use the sun as a metaphor for God. And we turn to the sun, to God, and just say, bathe me in yourself. This is all I want. If we were to do that, the shadows are meaningless. We don't even see them.
Right.
We are only connected with the light. If we turn our back on God, we see some light, but we also see our own shadow. We
Right.
also see our own darkness.
Right.
And we think it's real.
Right.
We think it's as real as anything else. It's a lot like Plato's cave. Hey, I thought I was original. All right, so he uses that metaphor of light a lot.
Yeah.
And light being understanding, comprehension.
Right.
So when we have understanding, or we're comprehending, we're open up to the light of God within ourselves and within each other. That is the lawns of heaven. That's the doorstep of heaven.
Right.
That's the real world.
Right. And it's really the understanding that as soon as, we can't leave love because that's our reality.
Yeah.
That's God's reality.
Yeah.
Love created me like itself. We
Right.
can't really leave that because it's the only thing that's real.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that exists.
Right.
But if we still believe that we've done that,
Mm-hmm.
and we feel guilty from that,
Yeah.
right?
That's what he tells us.
Then pain is going to be what we seek because we think we're really guilty. We think God's mad at us. We think God's going to punish us for this. And so since we're trying to replace God, we punish ourselves. And that's all that pain is in the mind,
Yeah.
is a self-punishment, is to make guilt real.
So
And so the turnaround is just like you're always saying, perception starts here and it goes out.
right.
And what the ego tries to get us to see is that your mental content comes from the outside
Yeah.
in.
Right.
And that's why there's no order of difficulty in miracles, because I can look at what I'm experiencing. I can find the attraction to guilt
Mm-hmm.
inside my mind. And when I'm conscious of that, when I'm sane, I can say, I don't want that guilt. That's not what I want. I don't want fear. I want to love myself. I
Right.
want to love everybody. I'm just confused. That's all it is. I'm
And-
just confused.
And so are other people.
Yeah.
When we see them doing this.
That's right.
So let's get really clear about this attraction to guilt.
Yeah.
We've been reading here. We've been reading in the Obstacles to Peace.
Right.
And it talks about the attraction of guilt, the attraction of death, the attraction of pain. And we go at first, when we read this, we go like, oh no, not me. I'm not that crazy. I'm not that stupid. But really, we take a look at it. The attraction of guilt means I can see how this happens with me. Always scanning the environment to see who's doing something wrong, right? Hey, I'm on a hike and I see a candy bar wrapper. Oh, somebody really is disrespectful, right?
They're bad.
I am throwing guilt on them.
They're bad.
They're bad. And so what's really going on is that I want guilt. I want to see it in them, but I cannot throw it out of my own mind. There's something in the Course that's repeated over and over, and that is, ideas leave not their source. So if I see that person as guilty, I'm experiencing a very contracted sense of myself.
Right.
I am attracted to that feeling about myself.
Right.
It's like whatever we look at, if we look at something fearful, then somebody is wrong and bad. It's just another form of guilt,
Right.
right?
And that's the whole, again, if what the ego's program is to replace God,
Yeah.
right? And if it's really trying to do that and it thinks God is going to punish us, then we punish ourselves. And that's the part that's hard to get.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there's mind training
Mm-hmm.
to watch your thoughts moment to moment and see that little bit of attraction
Yeah.
to guilt, the little attraction to fear. Because the only reason guilt and fear seems to still be in the mind, although it's not there, is
Yeah.
we think it's keeping us safe.
Right.
If I wasn't afraid of you, how would I protect myself from
Right.
you? If I didn't feel guilty about what I've done, all these horrible things, if I don't feel guilty about them, how would I get myself under control?
Right.
So we think guilt and fear is helping us, and
Yeah.
we're valuing it. And as soon as we see that,
Uh-huh.
we'll stop it. Because when we're conscious, when we're sane, we don't want those things.
But you have to admit, it's a habit. And
It's a
a habit
process.
like, and it's a process of undoing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a total process.
Yeah.
And I mean, when we come up against things like that, so whether it's a political situation or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
we look at that and we go, it's really difficult for me to overlook that. I know the Course is telling me to overlook it, but at this moment,
Yeah.
I'm just not capable of it. That's okay. You see, you don't want to beat yourself up
Because you feel guilty.
because you feel
Don't
guilty.
feel guilty
That's-
because you're feeling
That's
guilty.
right. I mean, that's how the ego works.
right. You just go like, okay, I'm in process. I'm feeling guilty here, but I'm asking for help. I know it's not what I want.
Right.
Help me, Holy Spirit. I give this guilt and this judgment to you.
Right.
And however I'm feeling, I'm just going to love myself anyway.
Right.
And one of the things that I've noticed happens is that, of course, guilt starts with the mind and a decision of the mind, but there are ramifications in the body, right? I mean, we can see it most clearly with anger,
Yeah.
right? There's adrenaline and other hormones that make you feel a certain way in your musculature and in your breathing and all that. And you can change your mind and give it to the Holy Spirit and ask for help and then be done with it and then just observe that those ramifications are still around, but they're not telling you what to do. They're not your boss anymore.
Right. Right.
So, yeah.
And he's always saying, and we read that in the beginning of the text recently, he says, you've got to free yourself quickly.
I love that.
You've got to get out of this state of fear and guilt, and you need to do that because you will not really know that you're innocent and that you're loved until you begin to offer that to others.
Right.
Because there isn't others.
Right.
There's this one being of love that love created, and
Right.
that's what I'm part of.
Yeah.
So, that becomes the realization at that moment. Okay, that's what I seem to be experiencing. That's not what I really want.
So I had an experience this morning, and as you're speaking, I'm reinterpreting it. Now let a new perception come to me. I went to the grocery store, and this is Monday morning, and there was all kinds of boxes in the aisle. And there was a new stock guy, a new guy putting stuff on the shelves. And he had the aisle blocked. I mean, I couldn't bring my cart down that aisle. And so my thought was, he's not tuning into the needs of the shoppers.
Yeah.
He's not very considerate of the customers. But now what I can see, the new perception is, there's times when I have not been considerate of other people. It just hasn't crossed my mind.
Yeah.
I've done things that were like caused other people seemingly to have to go out of their way to overcome my denseness. I've done that. It was just a mistake. He's just making a mistake.
Right.
So and it's no biggie, right? It's absolutely no biggie.
See, that's the whole key in the obstacles to peace.
Uh-huh.
The big step that you've got to make is that you've got to realize you believe in sin.
Uh-huh.
You actually believe that you could leave love.
Mm-hmm.
That's a belief. It's not true,
Mm-hmm.
but we're still believing that.
Yeah, we do.
And that's the part where we have to see, it's like, it's not if I spot it, I got it. We've got to get to that place of freedom as quickly as we can,
Mm-hmm.
because we're really not going to know our innocence and guilt until we start freeing others.
Right.
And that's what he's like. He said here, in this, what is the judgment? Salvation asks that you give it welcome. That's the whole part of part 2 of the workbook. Is that's our only job, is give welcome to the truth,
Into the Father.
give welcome to love. That's our whole job. And then
So you're reading from What is the Last Judgment?
It's
Yeah.
the theme under this lesson.
Yeah.
So salvation asks you give it welcome, and the world awaits your glad acceptance, which will set it free.
Mm-hmm.
So that begins to get us into a position of true power.
Mm-hmm.
I can heal this situation.
Mm-hmm.
I can free myself of the attraction to guilt and fear, and I can help others do that.
Okay, so you used an expression, if I spot it, I got it. And I think what you meant was, don't stop there.
Right.
Because what I was doing in the grocery store was, first of all, he was wrong.
Yeah.
He made a mistake. Okay. He was inconsiderate. Then I looked at, sometimes I'm inconsiderate. But the next step is to say, it's no biggie. It's not really hurting anybody. And we have to do that with everything.
Yeah.
Even if I were to punch you, it's like, it can't hurt you without your permission.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like we have to, the next step is forgiving him and myself. So what I saw there was my judgment. And it was my judgment on myself that I threw out to this guy here.
Right.
But the answer is always forgiveness. And forgiveness has to start here.
Right.
It's here and there.
Yep.
There's only one of us.
And so the thing that we're training our mind to see in those situations is when I'm afraid of somebody, when I'm judging them, when I'm upset with them, I'm thinking that they're going to rob me
Yeah.
of what I need or want or have to have.
Right.
So you just recognize I'm coming from loss
Mm-hmm.
of love, I'm coming from loss of peace, and I can heal that right now.
Right.
That's the difference,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, it may be better if the guy gets out of the aisle. Maybe those things will be better ways to go, but at least in my little perceptual world, I have to recognize that I am feeling the sense of loss of peace and love, and I can have the experience of peace and love in that very moment. As
Yeah.
long as I see, I think this is gone, and then I prove to myself it's not gone. Like you said,
What do you mean?
the lack of peace is not gone. Peace
Oh, okay.
is just there. There
Okay.
doesn't have to be a conflict.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to look on the world as making me lose my peace, because guess what? Now that I've accepted forgiveness, my peace has come back.
Yeah.
My love has come back.
Right.
I've demonstrated to myself I'm not separate from peace or love
Yeah.
in that very moment.
Yeah. And you know, another thing is sometimes when we just roll with it, whatever we're tempted to guiltify,
Yeah.
whenever we're tempted to make somebody wrong and to judge and all that. Another way of looking at it that I use sometimes is, oh, maybe Holy Spirit wanted me to go around the other end of the aisle to get whatever it was I needed, because there's somebody I should meet there, or there's a reason.
Yeah.
You know, like, so one road is blocked, like we talk about when a door closes, a window opens.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, so
That was Jesus's higher shopping service.
yeah, I was thinking about that.
Yeah, that's like there's an absence of felicity, which is sort of a biography of Helen and the development of the course. Was Jesus would say to Helen, you want this coat? That's fine. Let me save you time. I will tell you where you'll get the best coat for the best price, because I know, because by the way, I have all time and space under my control, so I can tell you where you can get your best coat. But guess what he also did? He sent her to somebody that had a son that needed just the kind of help
Right.
that Helen professionally could give them.
Yes. Yeah. So there was that was the miracle.
That was the miracle. So you could turn to the Holy Spirit. You could turn to Jesus and say, guide my thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Where should I go? What should I do? What should I say? What words should I give to the world?
Right.
But he's also going to put us in a situation where we're going to learn healing.
Yeah.
By being the healer. By being the helper.
Yeah.
By being the person who's not in the sense of loss of love at that moment.
Right.
Because now I'm helping others.
So just to go back to my grocery store.
Yeah.
Like, what little tiny inconvenience was that to me?
Yeah.
Right? That I should take myself out of a state of total love because I'm inconvenienced, because I can't get to my can of peas or whatever it was. I mean, that's just ridiculous when you really look at it.
Yeah.
But until we recognize that we are attracted to guilt and we're trying to give it away, until we realize that we're doing that, like that's the default program in this computer.
Yeah.
Right? Until we realize that that's what's going on, we'll just keep doing it and suffering from it and not having any idea why the world is so hard.
Right. So in Jesus' hire shopping service, it wasn't really about saving her time or her to get the best coat. It was to put her into situations where she could be a healer. Mm-hmm. So that's why Jesus said, ask me what miracles to give, because it can't be just it's a good thing to do. Because if we decide it's just a good thing and we do it, it may not be a situation where the love that we offered is consciously aware in the other person of being received, and therefore they don't give it back. Mm-hmm. So then I'm in these situations where I'm doing all these loving things, doing all these healing things, but I still feel upset. Mm-hmm. I'm still not getting peace from it, and that's why he has to guide us.
He needs to guide us
to the kinds of actions, to the things that, like it said in the second coming, pray for the second coming, pray for your rebirth, but don't rest with that. It needs your eyes and your ears, it needs your hands and feet, it needs your voice, it needs your willingness. Mm-hmm. So that everything that we're doing now, because I have one purpose, to remember God, to remember love.
So let's just conclude with a little discussion about the new perception and vision. Vision. So perception, of course, is made up of data and interpretation. Mm-hmm. And the interpretation of the ego will be one thing, and the interpretation of the Holy Spirit will be another. Right. So one leads to false perception, or the world is really a dangerous, bad, scary place, and the other one leads to a peaceful, loving perception. And he focuses a lot on vision, which is not about the eyes, it's about the perceptual part of everything we see. What I mean is the interpretative part of everything that we see. Right. So, Father, there is a vision, Christ's vision, which beholds all things as sinless, so that fear has gone, and where it was is love invited in. That's what you've been saying.
And the vision, I mean, vision can be this seeing the light. It can be that. You can see, you're not really paying attention to your senses. It can be that. But more often, practically speaking, what vision means is at that moment, I'm not conflicted by the split mind. I'm not split between the ego and the Holy Spirit. Mm-hmm. I clearly see those thought systems, and I clearly just want the Holy Spirit. That's one aspect of vision. Mm-hmm. But the other one is, in that moment, I have no unmet needs.
You know how it is that I experience having no unmet needs is when I know that my job is to give love. Yeah. When I know that that is what I'm supposed to be doing. Look for the love in that other person. It isn't really giving anything away. You know what I mean? It's like I'm not losing anything. I'm extending love. That's a better word. Yeah. And extending love, extending healing thoughts, extending the thought, you're okay. You've never done anything to hurt your true nature.
Yeah, that's a good way to
And
say it.
just to kind of have that attitude toward everybody that we meet.
Right. And you know, it's interesting too, as he goes on to say that, you know, that you've invited love back in now. This is the vision that we have. We've invited love back in. Love will come wherever it's asked. And here's a key notion: this vision is your gift, God. So understanding that this vision, that this atonement, this forgiveness is a gift to us,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm not going to say, well, I'm only going to offer forgiveness where they're worth it or where they
Right.
deserve it.
Right.
I understand it's a gift freely given.
Right.
It was a gift freely given to me,
Mm-hmm.
and now I'm freely going to give it to them, regardless of how they're acting out.
Right.
It doesn't want you to dismiss that behavior as
Right.
right
Yeah.
or anything. It's just saying that I can heal that situation.
Right.
I'm in a position to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So it's the understanding that it's a gift is
And-
so important.
And you know, the other day I was realizing that the word grace can be substituted. It can be a synonym for gift.
Yeah.
You know, it's like God's gift to us is unconditional love. And we can give that gift to everybody we meet. And by the way, when we do that, we're blessed.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not really giving anything away. It's opening ourselves up to a new perception in which everybody shares.
Right. So we're not giving based upon certain conditions.
Right.
We're understanding that the love is unconditional. It's without conditions.
Yeah.
It's freely given.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that's there.
Yeah. And that makes us feel very happy.
It makes us very happy, and it makes us feel the love for other people.
Yeah.
Instead of
Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. So he goes on, if you want to still continue with this.
Yep. Just a little.
So he looks that with these eyes, with this gift of vision, you look on a world forgiven. You don't see sin anywhere. That's what he's saying. He doesn't see a sinful world. And so let this true perception come to me so I wake up. So what the Course is saying is that behind all of our angst, all of our upsets, it's really the thought of death.
Mm.
It's really the belief I'm
Mhm.
going to end. And that's only in the mind because we're still believing I ended love. I
Right.
ended Christ.
Right.
Right? So instead of death being what the concept I'm holding, I'm saying I'm waking up.
I like that.
It's a process.
Right.
I may not be ready for it at the moment. Like he said, readiness is not mastery.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing to wake up from this dream of sin and look upon sinlessness, which you've kept completely undefiled. And get this, upon the altar to your Holy Son, the self with which I identify. There's an altar between you and your Creator. It's an altar to your worth and to your holiness,
Mm-hmm.
to your true nature.
And my true nature is everyone's true nature. It's
Yeah.
the Christ.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great.
Thank you so much for being with us today.